What's up, you guys? This is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and today on the Daily Grind, we're going to be chatting about some of our guilty pleasures. Alright, so as many of you guys know, there are optimal and there are top tier best ways to play Warframe, as some people like to shove down our throats. However, occasionally, there are certain playstyles and there's certain weapons that really just evoke a feeling of fun, something that you absolutely love. And this video is actually inspired from a stream that I had just the other day, where somebody in chat was in love with the Phage, and they were talking about, you know, their feelings, and I'm like, yeah, this is so nice to see someone enjoying something. But of course, you know, they asked me, you know, what my build was for it, and I looked at the stats and I was like, oh, this weapon is kind of jank balls. This is kind of not the greatest weapon out there. So a part of me, you know, had to address the fact that something was not good, but the fact is, this player liked it. And a part of me should have just been like, you know what, this person liked it. And so I went ahead and provided a build for them that worked. It wasn't necessarily a, I guess you would say, like, an optimal, well, it was an optimal build for the Phage. It was as best as we can do with the Phage's limited statistics. And the thing is, there's a part of me that is kind of begrudgingly saying that because of the fact that, you know, this person really enjoyed this weapon, so who am I to shit on their day and tell them you've made a poor decision, you know? We can always say, you know, there are better weapons out there, but if this is what you enjoy, here's the build for it. Enjoy this weapon to the fullest extent of all of your enjoyment. So a part of me kind of wanted to go ahead and embrace that a little bit today and talk about all of the things that aren't necessarily optimal, but things that I absolutely love. Now, one of my favorite things in the world is actually firewalker Nezha. He is legitimately one of my favorites, and this is using Pyroclastic Flow, and that is probably one of my favorite mods for him, mainly because of the fact that it's just so, it's just not the way I would ever normally use him. This is just not like how I would play Nezha if I was trying to be optimal. You know, I would have him running around with CC and, you know, divine spearing enemies and all of that hullabaloo, right? That would be the way that I would kind of like approach my play with him. But I'm gonna be honest, Pyroclastic Flow is so fun, and you get to kind of like kick your sneakers up. You guys have heard me and my rantings and ravings about how much I love Nezha and his firewalker. Now, for me, this is definitely one of the things that I would say isn't necessarily an optimal way to play, but is definitely something that I enjoy playing, especially because I believe the build that I run for Pyroclastic Flow actually has narrow-minded on it, so it already doesn't necessarily allow you to be super optimal when it comes to doing any kind of CC with him. Right? So that definitely hurts it, especially because running negative range on that also hurts, you know, his ability to heal. It hurts his, what was the other things? It hurts his ability to heal, it hurts his CC range, it also hurts the range of his little circle thing here, because, you know, you can use that to stun and stagger enemies. So it's kind of not the greatest, but the fact is I really like using it, mainly for the fact that you can legitimately just keep up these fire trails for a super long period of time, and it's counterintuitive to the way you play him, but it's really fun. The other weapon that I really enjoy that you'll see me using, and this one is, I guess you would still call it a meta weapon, but because of the fact that Tigris Prime kind of rules the shotgun category when it comes to being optimal and whatnot, the Strun Wraith doesn't get as much love as I think it should deserve, and it's definitely a powerhouse of a weapon. You can build it to become an extremely strong shotgun, right? But, you know, the Tigris Prime exists, so, as some people would put it, why use anything else other than the best? It's pointless, right? So, that's kind of one of the things that I really like running, and that's one of my guilty pleasure shotguns. I really enjoy using this one a lot. And the next one is not meta either, but I find myself, especially on streams, attempting to use it as much as possible because I like making friends out of it, and that's the Ballistica Prime. Now, of course, there are better secondaries out there. As you guys know, secondaries have come up and become extremely powerful. But there's just a part of me that likes making friends out of Bursas and making friends out of Hayeka Masters or Kuva Guardians that I just cannot resist. I think it's just too fun. So that is definitely one of my other guilty pleasure weapons. And then the last one, and some people are gonna give me shit for this, mainly because of the combos that I use for it, but I'm actually very, very fond of using the Haruto, but I like the Grim Fury stance. So it's not like the crazy weird breakdancing stance. It's like the punchy stance. And that is definitely one of my big favorites. I know a lot of people love all of the kicks and weird things that you can do with that, but there is no better feeling in the world than just ramming people in the face. That sounds dirty. But legitimately a part of me is very, very fond of that. And the other thing that you'll also see that I'm very fond of, because these people are absolutely breaking my heart right now, is interception missions. I love interception missions, but it seems like whenever anybody is talking about interception missions, their eyes kind of glaze over and they're like, oh my god, it's so utterly boring. And I'm like, but interception is literally my favorite. If you've seen me on stream, I will go for interception missions first, just because of the fact that I think that they're the funnest. I like being able to run around and capture points, and go, you know what I mean? And basically almost kind of like, I wouldn't say that it's chilled out, because you still have to like make sure that you're intercepting enemies from getting to certain capture points. But for me, it's definitely one of my favorite mission types, if not my favorite mission type. In fact, I think it might be. It is, okay, it is officially, I'm putting it out on the table, interception is officially my favorite mission type, including Arcwing interception. So it's interception, Arcwing interception, then probably like survival. And I know people are going to give me a lot of shit about that. But at the end of the day, really, what does it matter what other people want? You know what I mean? Why does it, unless you're like in a very specific group setting where you guys are trying to do like extended runs, or are, you know, you're really try-harding something. And let's get this right. Every now and then there is a cause for try-hard. And it's you know what, go ahead and try hard. There's no shame in a little bit of try-hardingness. But sometimes you just gotta play what's fun. And I find that maybe one of the big reasons that some players get really burnt out on Warframe is because they're too busy trying to focus on being meta, trying too hard to, you know, try to be the very best like no one ever was, you know what I mean? When really it's pointless. The point of the game is to have fun completely, and that's why I was really thinking in my head, I was like, alright, well, I want to hear how everybody else has fun. Like, what else does everybody really like? And I want you guys to chime in and let me know what it is that you think is a guilty pleasure frame or a guilty pleasure loadout that you like to run that's not necessarily optimal, and you might even feel a little like, people would judge me if I say that I like the use of this frame. Like, one of the frames I was actually considering using for this setup, but I think I might be saving for tomorrow. Let's put that out there. Is Wukong. I was actually playing him on stream this weekend, and I had a ton of fun with him, using his combos. And I know that's not a thing that people like doing either, and I feel like that's almost like a guilty thing to say, is like, oh, I really like using melee combos. And as you guys have heard on my builds, I like consistency because I like to have consistent timings on my combos and stuff like that. So when I hear people like, you know, go, oh, I just spam E, I'm like, ugh, like, that's not fun to me. Like, I like trying to hit the combos, and Wukong, for me, has notoriously had this one combo that is like my rival of life combo. It is the 2 pause and then a bunch of other E's at the end. if I'm gonna be real with you, that's how I remember it. It's the 2 pause, a bunch of other E's at the end. And that combo is like the one that I always try to hit, because it's this cool one where he like literally throws his staff, and it like spins around in a circle in front of him, and I'm like, oh my god, it's such a cool combo, I really like it, oh, it's so badass. And so I always try to use that combo, and most of the times I can get the timing right if I really try it, but it's not one of the ones that come naturally to me. Like, there's one that I really like from Crossing Snakes, which, you know, everybody likes using Swirling Tiger. Everybody loves using Swirling Tiger on that one because, you know, you get all the flares and it's easier to hit. But if you do, I think it is another 2 pause. It's another 2 pause one where you actually throw both of your swords out in front of you, then you do a flip forward. And I think that people don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, but I really enjoy it. So that's one of the big reasons that I enjoy Wukong, is because I know that he has 2 really good combos. There's like a 2 hold 1 where you put the staff out in front of you, and you go ahead and you actually like do this cool extension jab with the pole, and like a part of me gets really addicted to trying to hit those combos. So I don't know if anybody else tries to hit combos that way too, if that's just a weird guilty pleasure thing, because I know it's weird. When I was looking at certain weapons or whatnot, I definitely thought to myself, I'm like, oh, they're gonna hate it if I don't use Brutal Tide on this, because Brutal Tide is definitely the more popular of the two sparring stances. Is it sparring or is this fist? I think this is sparring. The two, you know, it's the most popular stance for sparring, and a part of me is like, oh, okay, well, that's fine and dandy, but legitimately I like one which has more fists in it. That's kind of like my go-to. I'm gonna just kick you, and that's what I love about this build with Nezha, is literally the pyroclastic foe. You just literally have this big kicking build on, and it's absolutely hilarious. And I need to remember to at least try to use Divine Spears once in this mission to get speared once, because I do like Divine Spears. I think the effect is cool, but when it comes down to it, I just really want to run around and just set things on fire. I much prefer that to the spears, because legitimately this build is not even remotely made for spears. Like, it's I don't think I could even there you go, I got one. I literally got one, and he's already dead. But yeah, so I really want to kind of like encourage you guys to give me a heads up on what you guys have been having a lot of fun with, because I think, again, in this game we focus too much on, well, did you see this weapon does this insane amount of damage and it is clearly the best weapon that currently exists in game. I think there's a lot of that goes on, and I'll be honest, at certain points too, I've definitely fed into that, talking about, you know, oh, look at this cool trick that you can use to do shit tons of damage, you know, like we did with the Hydroid. And that's the thing though, it's kind of like, that's the cool part where certain things intersect. It's like Hydroid's Watery Grave build is extremely powerful. Like, you can do shit tons of melee damage with that it's absolutely insane, but at the same time, you get to launch yourself at enemies like a water blob. And for me, that's like the big fun of it. It's like, it being effective is just a plus, you know? Not only do you have invincibility, not only do you get invincibility frames, but you actually get to like deal a shit ton of damage to go along with it. And that's kind of like always nice when that happens. And you know, in this case of Pyroclastic Flow, it definitely works. It definitely puts out a good amount of damage. You can control areas with it, but it's just not necessarily what is considered in the meta. And I totally missed my kick there. Oh, but I got one. I got at least one enemy with it. I got at least one enemy. Did a chunk of damage to that enemy with it, and now I feel better about my life. And that's kind of what it comes down to, guilty pleasures. So tell me all about your guilty pleasures. Let me know if there are certain things that you know and that's the biggest part too, is let me know what you is there anything that you personally looked down on people for using that you're like, okay, that is probably good though, you know? Maybe a frame that you know is good, that you know people enjoy playing, but is just like not something you can get behind. Leave that in the comments below, because I'm very curious about, you know, our guilty pleasures and also what we kind of shame people on. Like, is there anything that I shame people on? I can't really think about it. Maybe enjoying volts. Maybe that's the only one. The speed, power, strength ones, that's, you guys can keep that guilty pleasure and you can tie it up in a sack and throw it in the garbage bin, because I cannot stand that build whatsoever. But that's just me, you know, that's just my own personal standpoint, and I think that's what makes the game great, is that you have a bunch of different options to pull from, you have a bunch of different things that you can explore, and we don't always have to play the exact same thing all the time. Sometimes we don't need to care about the meta, sometimes we can just care about the things that we love. So tell me about all of the things that you love in the comments below, and I'm gonna go ahead and leave that here today. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and play whatever the fuck you want to play, even if it's like the Phage, y'all. Just embrace the things you enjoy and don't let anybody look down on you. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Unless it's a Volt power strength speed build, you should be ashamed. Shame on you. See you guys next time.